You knew it. You knew it. I don't think you knew it. Good morning to you. Good morning is such a nice thing to say. I think that's the nicest thing that you can say to like somebody that you don't know. You know, good morning. It's like, yeah, good morning to you too, friendo. How art thou, world-weary soul? I am okay. You are a prophet, man. Or maybe you're just getting used to the patterns. That ghost is lit. You're right. From the pinnacle to the pit. It is a long way down. Do, 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 do. Sun is shining, birds are saying, looks like a good day. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Day. Can't stay, but have a good one, Beaches. Oh, thanks, old Prackle Bush. So, Paul, what do you think John Coffey represents in The Green Mile? Like, is there a deeper meaning to that book? I would have to reread that book, to be honest with you. I read that book in my 20s. It's been about 20 years. So, I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but I'd really have to take another look at the book. I remember the very basics of it, but not enough to make a below surface level analysis of what goes on in the film. John Coffey is Jesus. Oh yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah. Give us spoilers for today's onion nuggets. Kind of hard to spoil an onion nugget, isn't it? We're gonna cover some news and some crazy stories. We're gonna talk some shit. We're gonna yell at each other. That sort of thing, you know. Listening to Eels, watching Paul's ego, good start to the day. Hey, Eels, man. That's a band. That's a band right there. Probably most famous for their kind of one-hit wonder-ish Novocaine for the Soul. I believe that popped out in like the late 90s. Novocaine for the soul. You better give me something to fill the hole before I sputter out. Yeah, it's kind of hard to spoil an onion nug, man. Onion nugs is just it's a cacophony of internet shit. When was the last time you ate strawberries? I don't know. When was the last time I had a strawberry? Been a minute. It's been a hot minute since I had a strawberry. I love it when people say strawberry, not strawberry. Because I grew up saying strawberry. And some people will say strawberry. Would you like a strawberry? Yeah, sure, I'll take a strawberry. It's not just an English thing. There are people in the United States that say strawberry. Would you like to eat a strawberry? Sure. I'll have a strawberry. You want a strawberry, D? No? Pass on the strawberry? Got a Cuban style hat on today. Need to add a red star to it. This is Cuban style? I've got like a Russian red star. Should I start wearing that to really tease the reactionaries? Subreddit is having a conversation about cannibalizing you in a plane crash scenario. I mean, I guess that's fine. You know, if I croak in the plane crash, my body ain't gonna be worth nothing. You know, you may as well eat it. Drag it out of there and eat it. Ain't gonna bother me none. Now, if you're talking about like killing me to eat meat, then you better bring your army. The biggest dude is the one you eat. Either that, or he's the one that eats you. You're giving yourself a little too much credit there. The biggest dude might just turn around and eat you. Wanna go inside, D? Chirp, chirp. Skirt, skirt. Svetlana Poklonskaya. Svetlana Poklonskaya. Sound like a Russian femme fatale. But Vladimir Putin was not unreachable, as he thought. For when he met the beautiful Svetlana Polinskaya, his true weakness was revealed. Are you aware of the myth that critical race theory is being taught to elementary kids? I guess. I really don't see a problem with critical race theory being taught to elementary kids. I think if you're going to teach like rudimentary American history, you need to let people know about the struggles of different racial groups here. Am I wrong? Isn't that part of the history? I think they should teach critical race theory to fetuses. And sex education, too. Sex education and critical race theory to fetuses. There you go. Svetlana is such a cool name. Why not us lame Americans have cool sounding names like that? Oh, we do. There's some crazy fucking names in America. You can't act like some Americans don't have some nutty names. Aloysius. Come on. Has a poorly chosen name. It's too easy to make it sound scary to right-wing people. It doesn't matter what you named it. You could call it Happy Rainbow Theory. You could call it Magical Unicorn Theory. It's not the name. See, that's a ruse. The name has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter what you named critical race theory. Conservative, puritanical people would be against it. Sounds like something the right-wingers invented. No. Remember when I was 7, we moved to Tennessee from New York, and I learned they had slaves in school. And I was like, damn, y'all are like that. What? Huh? What's wrong with telling kids we still treat POCs like shit? It's just honest. I mean, it's more than that. It's like the whole point is you're trying to teach the kid about what's going on in your country, right? You're trying to teach a kid about the history of your country and the progress that your country has made. The whole, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it kind of situation, right? You're explaining to children like how things are. Isn't that the point of an education? Seems to be the point of an education to me. But I guess maybe I'm a little old-fashioned or whatever. Some older generations use the "it was normal in their time" excuse and refuse to discuss it. Well, that's kind of the point of CRT becoming a big hot button issue, right? Is there was this kind of like very truncated education given to people in my generation about slavery and racism and the history of racial discrimination and the history of immigrants here in the United States. We were given a very truncated version of that, and the idea is to give people a better understanding of what that meant from multiple different perspectives, right? I still fail to see how this is a harsh thing, how this is a bad thing. Unless, of course, you want to argue with me that those things haven't been that way, in which case I would invite you to pick up a book. We can't have the poor white children get empathy for minorities when they grow up. They might turn their anger to the rich, and that would be truly horrible. If everyone became vegan in the future, would people from the future tear down statues of everyone who wasn't vegan? Probably, yeah. We just did a mini-sode the other day about statues. I covered like a couple of statues that are seemingly totally innocuous that have triggered people out of their minds and caused riots and shit. So yeah. And if we transfer to an entirely vegan diet or something, there probably will be a time in the future where people are tearing down statues of meat eaters and shit. Who cares? Like, what do you care? Conservatives fundamentally don't understand much of anything. I don't think that's true. Arguing over race is one of the most absolute dumbest things humanity has ever done. Arguing over race. I'm not sure how to take that statement. I mean, like, I think discriminating based on race is one of the stupidest things humanity has ever done. I think the arguments that come from that are pretty fundamental in stopping it. Still remember the goofballs in cargo shorts and tiki torches mad about statues getting torn down. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure, dude. Statues are, like, they always have been, too. They're like political flashpoints. You throw up a statue of just, like, what you think to be a completely uncontroversial figure, and you're going to offend a bunch of people. Guaranteed. Washington's a great example. He's held up as a good example for freeing his slaves after he died, but he still profited from their labor during his lifetime, yeah, and went to great lengths to ensure that he got to keep them while he was alive. So, yeah, no, Washington was a slave owner. And a pretty brutal one from all accounts. So, there you go. Yeah, racism is rooted in tribalism for sure. And not just from when we were chimps, but from when we were less civilized human beings. Hunter-gatherers, small groups, to which another small group meant danger. He was a reluctant slave owner, yeah. Oh, yeah. So reluctant that he went out of his way to make sure that he could keep his slaves. There was like I'm trying to remember, there was like a statute where he was that said that he could only keep slaves for like 3 years or something. And so he would transport his entire collection of slaves out of state before the 3 years were up, keep them in another state for a couple of weeks, and then bring them back and treat them as new slaves. That's how reluctant George Washington was as a slave owner. Yeah, so reluctant he couldn't stop having sex with all his female slaves. Paul, what do you think of the current anti-LGBT laws being passed in America? What do I think of them? The same thing I've thought about them my entire life. I mean, this is not new. Like, this struggle to write discrimination against a protected group of people into law is not new. It's been going on in America on and off since I was a kid and since well before that, right? Since the beginning. I mean, we're talking about George Washington owning slaves. So this is hardly a new phenomenon in the United States, and you'd be surprised at some of the people who took part in this. You know, you can find relatively clear and in the historical record, relatively recent examples of a lot of major DNC figures speaking out pretty vehemently against gay marriage. Saying shit like, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. Let's find some Hillary Clinton arguing against gay marriage challenge. 3, 2, 1, go. Kelly, please. Anyway, the wind blows. Hillary right now, not Young Hill. Smash or pass? Pass. Pass. Capital P, capital A, capital S, lowercase s. Pass. Rewind the clock about 50 years, though. Hubba hubba. They'll do the same to weed legalization. Once it's out, then suddenly there'll be a heel turn. Here's the thing. The writing is on the wall for weed legalization. There are now, I don't know the exact number, but there are more states that have some avenue to legal marijuana than there are states that prohibit it. And so what you've got is a complete and utter sea change in the political feelings towards this. And there's all of these examples of states just instituting a new sin tax, like Colorado, Washington, instituting a new tax on, marijuana and related paraphernalia and shit, and just making tons and tons of tax revenue from it. You're not gonna put that genie back in the bottle. I want you to think about the federal enforcement of weed prohibition in 32 states simultaneously. Not gonna happen. No. The weed cat was let out of the weed bag. And really the writing was on the wall as soon as Colorado didn't experience a giant, Colorado and Washington, I guess, were really bellwether states because they closely followed one another in recreational legalization. There was all kinds of hysteria, especially from the right wing and kind of more conservative factions, saying like, oh, there's going to be tons of car accidents with weed, and there's going to be tons of people killing each other, getting drunk and fucking fights, and it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And when it wasn't that, and when all that happened in Colorado and Washington is that they were suddenly flush with new tax money, other states just fell in line. It was like, okay. California wasn't too far behind, and California was way ahead of the pack in terms of decriminalization of marijuana and shit. California decriminalized marijuana in the early 2000s, I believe. Just made it to where, if you got caught with marijuana and it was under a certain amount, the cops just wrote you a ticket. So that was a functional legalization of marijuana in California, or at least a giant step towards it. And, once again, I remember when that law was passed, there were people that were just pulling their hair out, saying, "Oh my God, every kid's gonna be smoking weed. It's gonna be tons of DUI accidents with weed at the center of it, and it's gonna create this huge bottleneck in the, medical system." And none of that shit happened. I thought New York City legalized. Am I wrong, Abby? I thought NYC legalized a while back. Maybe New York State hasn't? That's kind of crazy. If that's the case, that's really crazy. But I could have sworn I heard that it was legal in NYC. New York is legal as far as I know. Yeah, I thought so, but man, I might be wrong. Yeah, this is one of the downsides to doing these like mobile streams. Is like on a desktop stream, I could just pull up the map of different, the whole all the states and their different weed legalization status. But I do know that there are now more states, especially if you count states that just have like medical exclusions and shit. There are more states where it's legal to smoke weed than there are states where it's fully prohibited. So the writing's on the wall. As well, it should be too, because America has long suffered under the delusion that weed is bad, but alcohol is good. It's very strange to me. Did you hear about the 15-year-old black schoolgirl in the UK who was strip searched by police in school because her teacher told the cops she smoked weed? Nope, but that sounds like cops. It's legal to smoke in Washington, D.C., but only in the capital city for some reason. That's because D.C. is weird. It's not like a state. It's a district. It's a federal district. So the city itself is different. But yeah, and you can burn one behind the Lincoln Memorial. That's neat. Sadly not legal here in the UK. So I've actually been thinking about, because I enjoy doing these kind of like outdoorsy streams. At least I seem to enjoy them more than sitting in at my desk where I work and doing them. So I think I just need to get another device. Just like get a little tablet or something that I can bring out here with me, and then I can look stuff up and show it to you guys. So maybe I'll just get like a little cheapy tablet. Start bringing it out here, make it part of my stream kit. Laptop's a little too chunky. I don't want to have a whole ass laptop set up over here, man. I got things, you know what I mean? I got stuff. I got stuff and I got things. Get a hammock? Oh yeah. I don't really have any trees that would support a hammock, unfortunately. Need a couple of big trees the right distance apart. I think my neighbor over here could probably do a hammock. I've got a couple of big trees that are pretty close. Neighbor back here probably could too. But my house has got some very small little trees here in the backyard, so not really any hammock candidates, unfortunately. Just install some poles. Nah, man. I don't own this house. I rent it, so I'm not gonna tear up somebody's yard, I'm not gonna help maintain somebody's yard either, but I'm not gonna dig holes in it and crap. No, it's fine. I think what I am gonna do, and I need to do it here sooner rather than later, is buy one of those big shade tents, those like canvas picnic shade things, and just put it out here on this back porch so that I can have a little shade from the direct sunlight out here. I think that's gonna help a whole lot, especially now that it's gonna start getting real hot. Like pretty soon here, I'm gonna have to go inside and change out of this sweatshirt that I've got on. I can tell the temperature is gonna go up a couple more degrees, and I'm gonna be uncomfortable sitting here. So I'm gonna have to go put a little t-shirt on or something. Took your advice and updated my profile pic. What do you think? Hey, that's me. Is that me with my hair in a ponytail? I like it. Neat. Yeah, I approve. Maybe one day I'll go really authoritarian and I'll require that everybody that chats has a profile pic that's me. I don't care if it's white guilt Paul, child Paul, current day Paul. You got to have a picture of Paul. I'm actually talking myself into this rule. Hey, no, I'm kidding. That would be a little too crazy. Yeah, that would actually be pretty funny. I agree. It would be funny, but I think that would actually chase people away. There would be like reasonable people that like chilling with me that are just like, dude, I'm not changing my whole ass account profile pic to Paul just to talk to Paul. That's ridiculous. This guy's gone off the deep end. I got stood up by the same girl twice. Man, what didn't you learn the first time, bro? I will be honest with you here. I've never been stood up in my life, but assuming that let's assume that I was stood up once. You only get one with me. And I think that should be anybody, dude. I don't care what your gender is. You get stood up by somebody on a date or something, dude, they've already told you what they think of you. Like they've told you in explicit detail that they couldn't give a crap less about you. It's that like old aphorism that people say, like when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. There you go. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. Was it a no call, no show, or a cancellation? See that? Yeah, cancellation is not a stand up, but 2 of those in a row, that's enough. I was super stood up. I once went to another country to see a girl and she stood me up. Dude, that's not a stand up. You got catfished, bro. That's not a stand up. That's not stand up. You got noodled, bro. Somebody stuck their hand down in your little mud hole and you latched on and they pulled you out. That's the worst of the worst, man. You got noodled. You broke up with her over the phone. I mean, didn't she kind of break up with you when she catfished you to a different state or different country? I think that was the breakup. I went to meet a girl on a date. It was a guy. Yeah, catfished. Kitty cat catfished. That's something that, like, you know, this is going to be in a controversial opinion, especially given how people quote unquote date nowadays. How like the dating pool and the idea of dating in a lot of people's minds has spread from in-person interaction to I'm dating somebody who lives in Thailand that I've never met. You know what I mean? I just have to say that in my opinion, online dating is not dating. You should come up with another name for it. Because if you have a long-term online internet relationship, you're not engaging in any of the activities that you have to engage in order to have a face-to-face interaction with somebody. You can't read a person's fucking body language. You can't see a person in their day-to-day life. You don't get that whole like you see me at my best, you see me at my worst kind of thing that you get when you know a person in person. You know, everything's got a little veneer, a little patina over it on the internet. You know, even people that aren't trying to catfish are always putting their best foot forward when you have these internet relationships. It's kind of like a little play that you put on with each other. I'm not saying the feelings aren't real, Don't get me wrong there. I know you can develop some very deep feelings for a person, but you really, like, if those feelings are real on both sides, you need to make every effort to get together. Because that long distance shit, it just doesn't work, dude. With VR innovation, this may change a bit. That is true. I mean, it depends. I'm gonna be way out of the loop when it comes to that shit. I'm not really interested in even trying VR myself. It's just not something that sounds all that pleasant to me. I've actually got a little phobia of it, I think, built up to the point where I just don't even want to. I won't put something on me that takes over my eyes. You know what I mean? I do not like the idea that shit could be jumping out at me and that it looks all real. And I know not all VR games are like that, but it's just not appealing to me. And so I'm definitely going to have to defer to some of the younger generations, especially like when this VR technology progresses past a cutesy wootsy little video game and becomes maybe capable of making different types of avatars, like more realistic avatars of people. Yeah, it's definitely gonna have to take some leaps and bounds before it gets there. As of right now, this long distance relationship stuff, I just personally don't believe in it. I feel like you can develop feelings and genuine emotions for somebody over a distance, but you don't really know till you know. And in order to know, you got to have that person around you. You got to have, you got to date. You got to see each other.
Yeah, like if you develop feelings, that should be your primary goal in life is to get together with that person.
It depends on the feelings, right? If it's not, then maybe it's not as deep as you think it is, right? Like if you look at your priorities in life and you say like, dude, I just can't even stand the idea of not being around this person, then of course your main priority is going to be to get to them. If you look at it and you go like, oh, I'm infatuated with this person, but I got other things I want to take care of, and I'm not sure I want to move, and I'm not sure I want to have them move. Then it's telling you what you need to know about the relationship.
And if it's extremely difficult to get together, you have to sit down and see like, is this relationship worth going that far out of my way to meet this person?
Right. I mean, you got to know that before, to the best of your ability, but you also got to be prepared for like if you do that and you get together and it's just not what you thought it was or it doesn't fit in the way you thought it would, you got to be able to pull the plug, you know. And both people have to take the responsibility of that. No matter who it is that moves, you got to understand that hey, we might get together and it might just be a totally different thing. It might not work. It might not work the way we thought it would. And if you're both on that same page, then get together and make it real. My friend was dating someone from Australia. They only lived together for short periods, but ultimately he moved back to Oz. The relationship ended not long after. Oh, yeah, it happens. That's why I think it's kind of a risky way to date people. Honestly, meeting somebody from far away, it could create this whole issue that is completely and utterly solved the first time you spend 2 weeks together. Like you just realize, oh fuck, this person has some kind of habit that just fingernails on the chalkboard, or this person, it just isn't quite the same way that I thought they were online, or whatever. Huh? All right. I love you too. And be careful.
I will. Come in, D?
Yeah, get in there, D. Blade Runner holographic girlfriends. Well, there's that movie Her as well. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's Joaquin Phoenix. He falls in love with his personal digital assistant. It's like near future VR construct or whatever. So I'm definitely, science fiction has a pretty uncanny way of predicting near future developments and maybe even guiding them. And so I have no doubt in my mind that this technology is going to reach a point where, what I'm talking about doesn't apply in the same way. But as of right now, that's how, that's just my opinions on the online long distance relationship kind of stuff. Like if I know you in person, if you're a personal friend of mine and you come to me, and I'm probably going to be a little harsh with you about it. You know what I mean? Like out there in the world, whatever. If I don't know you, it's your life to ruin. But if you're like a personal friend of mine and you come to me, oh, I'm dating somebody. Oh, that's cool. You know, yeah, they're from Australia. My first reaction is gonna be, you're not dating anybody. You're talking to what you assume is an Australian person. You're not dating anybody. You met this person. You lived with this person for a couple of weeks. You actually been out on a date or 2 or 10 with this person. You're not dating nobody. No, you're not. You need to get your head together. There's currently tracked bodies as well as sexual devices to say, yeah, I've seen those. I mean, that's all. That's all going to be part of it. There's going to be a whole ass rig that people get in, and that'll be that, And there will probably be places where you can rent that rig because people can't afford to own it, and so there'll be places that just like sterilize the rigs between users. How do you want to think about it, bro? But it's going to happen. The cyberpunk near future version of like old school old school like New York stroke booths or whatever. It's coming. Do you have any concept of incels when you were in high school? Maybe not the world itself, but just the concept. No. I mean, there were dudes that were like, as kids would say now, down bad. I was one of them, so I know that they existed. But they weren't looked at as incels, and there wasn't this sense of like despair amongst them either. Like I've talked a little bit about my kind of weird social situation in high school where I had two very distinct but unique and separate groups of friends. I had my older group of friends that I kind of came up through grade school, middle school with, and not to talk ill about them, but they were kind of nerdy. They were my like video game, computer game kind of nerdy, brainy, dorky kind of friends, weren't really into fashion and all that stuff. And then I had a group of friends that were like, at least adjacent to the popular kids in school, were into fashion and music and all that stuff. And I kind of ping ponged between, well, I didn't ping pong, I just simultaneously maintained this group, a friendship. And none of the dudes that were in my like nerdy group of friends that were, as people would say now, down bad, none of them were like, man, I'm never gonna get laid, fuck women, it's just worthless, man, it's just stupid, just get turned down all the time. Like, it was just like, dude, it'll happen at some point, so at some point I'll meet a woman and that'll be that, or I'll meet a guy or whatever. there wasn't a whole lot of, this kind of like malaise of like, it's never gonna happen for me. I just didn't hear that, man. Nobody, you might have felt like that sometimes if you got turned down or whatever. Like, yeah, people got in their feelings and stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you I wasn't like, you get turned down or whatever. You have a couple of days where you're down real bad and you're sad and you think it's never gonna happen. But like this overarching idea of like, well, this is just my life, that never existed. So, but there was also less of an impetus for people to retreat into this like little personal world or whatever. There's less of the ability to do that, less of the ability to focus in on like this virtual world and this more interconnected internet and this kind of like this facsimile online social life that really isn't a social life. And I think that plays a huge role in people feeling like they're never going to find anybody because it really just takes them out of the dating pool. They're not putting themselves out there in any significant way. They're not going out, they're not doing anything, they're not meeting anybody, they don't have anything going on, and they just expect like a sexual partner and a romantic partner to just fall into their lap out of the ether. And it's just that's like the silliest thing. The silliest thing to expect that if you never interact with people and just sit around lonely in your room, that one day somebody's going to knock on your window. That only happened to me, okay? That's something. I'm the only incel that ever happened to, okay? Your results may vary. But that just goes to show you. Like, here's what happened to me. I'm gonna explain to you how my down bad period ended. Okay. So here's what was at the root of me being down bad throughout high school. I was hardcore in love with / just infatuated with one chick throughout all of high school. Only really my freshman year was I free of like the real kind of like obsessive kind of teenage proto love thing. You know what I mean? And so that like everybody knew, like everybody in my social circle that amongst whom there may have been, a dozen or more possible dating partners knew that I was all in love with this chick, Tammy. So, it kind of like limited my options because Tammy wasn't into it. She was, but she wasn't. Tammy strung me along. I got no, bad feelings about it. She was young. She was a kid. But she kept me on the hook, reel me in just close enough, and then let out the slack again. You know what I mean? You know how it works. I've told you guys the story. So after that ended, I really got to a point where I wasn't all that interested in trying to chat anybody up. And that's what ended up getting me laid. True story. I got to the point where I was so sick of the politics of being in that little pseudo relationship all throughout high school, right? That after I got out of it, I just stopped caring. Like I stopped projecting that out. I wasn't looking anymore. I was genuinely on break from romantic entanglement and relationships, and I put myself out there in that way. And what happened is I was in college, and I was in theater classes and shit. I had a group of peers that I'd met and stuff. And within that group of peers was a girl that I'd gone to high school with, but she was years and years ahead of me. She was like a senior when I was a sophomore, I think. So we'd been, friends back then, but then she had graduated and she came back. We met each other again. And when I met her, I wasn't thrown. I wasn't like, I thought she was really attractive, but I wasn't spitting game because I wasn't even trying to get into that. And that's what ended up getting it. Like I wasn't immediately fumbling all over myself, trying to flirt, trying to be awkward, trying to like blah, 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 blah. I was just like, oh yeah, let's chill. Smoke a joint together, ditch a fucking class together. You know what I mean? Just hanging out. By the end of that day, the deal was sealed, basically. Hadn't happened yet, but the date was set. Crazy, right? My worst time was trying to get with people. At a time I felt like I was being led on by someone that didn't work out with. By the time I didn't give a shit anymore and throw myself out there. Is when I started having all kinds of options on the table and just chilling and watching a movie. Yeah. Paul sounds like a lottery winner trying to explain why he won. No, I'm actually explaining to you why I won. See, there's a lot. Like, look at me, dude. I'm not exactly throwing tons and tons of game. I'm not a good-looking guy. I'm a fat dude, and I always have been since like 6th grade. That's not typically what people consider to be traditionally attractive. I got one thing going for me. I got a personality. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that when my every interaction with people wasn't hyper focused on can I get with you? Can I get with you? That's when I became more attractive to people. That's it. Like there's no, you know, no magic trick involved. There's no, you know, lottery win involved. I just put myself out there in a way that like didn't reek of desperation. And all through high school, that's pretty much what I reeked of. I guess because I was sort of good looking when I was younger, women would mostly come to me. Being short used to not be such a big deal pre dating apps. It's not even really all that big a deal now. Like, it just shows you how superficial that sort of thing is. Like, if you're in the room with somebody, their height is going to, like, whether or not their height is a problem is going to be immediately apparent to you. And it's more about, like, charisma and chemistry and all that. Desperation does not a good cologne make. No, that is true. Desperation is a stinky cologne. Fat kids who aren't dumb always have the best personalities. I know because I was one. Gave me a lot of character. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. You basically have two choices as a fat kid. I've talked about this before, and I genuinely, this might be like an oversimplification, and it might not be as valid nowadays. I'm not going to claim to know, like, but the more things change, the more things stay the same. I'm pretty sure it still works like this. There's basically two classifications of fat kids coming up through the public school system. You are either a very quiet, shy pariah that maybe has one friend or no friends and that gets bullied and talked shit about to the point where like it's almost not even fun for the bullies to do it. It's like the whole possum play dead thing. Like you just walk away and ignore it, and eventually you just kind of enter this weird like segregated social status where nobody hangs with you, or you learn how to clap back. That's the two classifications of fat kid. You either just kind of accept that you're an outsider and find a world that's much smaller than the school that you're going to, or you learn how to talk shit. And that's those are your choices. Choose one. Ignore the bullies is such bad advice. It depends on a person, right? Depends on the personality. I'm gonna go take off this sweater. Definitely don't need it. Oh, yeah, dang it. Yeah, dang it. Oh, yeah. Come here. Let me see these. I got bullied by proxy. The bully got what? A fat, unpopular kid to coax me into a fight to impress the bully. Hey. Say what? Say what? Say what? What's happening? Dios mío, man. Liam and me would have fucked you in the ass Saturday. We'll fuck you next Wednesday instead, baby. Woo! What's on my mind? I don't even know, man. Just trying to get myself to feel woken up, I think, right now. I slept really hard last night, but I'm still having trouble kind of like feeling like I'm totally awake. Just feeling kind of sluggish today. I've been feeling pretty bad in general, to be honest with you, mentally speaking. So I'm just, struggling with that. I'm thinking about my future, like just what I got to do in the next week, and then the week after that, and then I kind of stop caring. I'm just kind of like, and that's a train of thought that can really impede what I do for a living. So can't believe you're an Ancient Aliens guy, dude. Dude, that was some pretty epic bait on the subreddit. I gotta give props where they're due. Like after yesterday's stream where we just talked about like the ancient alien thing, and I was very explicitly said like I don't believe aliens came down or whatever. Somebody ran to the subreddit and was like, Paul believes in ancient aliens, I'm done with him. And all the trolls were just like, oh, what an idiot. Just baited. No, they didn't take me seriously. Most of them didn't even watch the clip, dude. Like, I'd say like 90% of the people that commented on that didn't even watch the clip, just assumed it was true and ran with it, proving that they've just got a big old hate Paul boner. Ah, well. PDS, dude. I don't know why you bought a house. I didn't. What with all these people's heads you live in? Oh, I see what you're doing there. They got the PDS, dude. I got it bad. Ancient Egyptians describe a giant plate of some kind. Good morning, me. Give me your jolly good mornings. Stuffy good mornings in a sack, mister. Will we ever see Paul's Ego, the autobiography? I don't know. Maybe. I've got a little shelved side project that is an autobiographical collection of my stories. Or some of my stories, I guess. Hey, Paul, I want to do a talk with you on the subject of being bullied and trying to fit in. I'm part of the late 90s generation. If you're interested, let me know. Huh? What do you mean? If I'm interested in what? A conversation with you? Where and when and on what platform? Yeah. Dip. Let me put some dip. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later, bud.